Hi, and welcome to the Avenue Code Spotlight Series podcast. Here you'll find inspiring conversations with top executives and technology leaders. If you're listening to us from podcast platforms, be sure to follow us. And if you're watching us from YouTube, subscribe to our channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Avenue Code Podcast, which is called Spotlight Series. And we have a very special guest tonight with us. It's Zeo Solomon, founder and chief strategy officer at Avenue Code. Welcome, Zeo.
Thank you, Ulyana, and not really that very special guest, but thank you for inviting me.
We wanted to talk about a very cool topic because it actually on every technology company's mind, which is attrition. So we always think that attrition is a bad thing, and I know, Zeo, you have a very interesting theory, and maybe true, about attrition, and if you can start sharing what it is, and we can talk more about it.
So it's thank you. Yes, it started interestingly enough with having to battle attrition in the technology sector. You're always competing. We're headquartered in San Francisco, California, and we're always competing with Facebook and Google and Twitters and all that big brand technology consumers in the world, and not even with the pandemic, it even was made more difficult that competition over technology talent had expanded all over the world with everybody working from home, and we've seen our attrition rates go up, having to double down on our talent acquisition, almost to just treading water to make up for the people that we're losing. But then during one of our latest financial review, we noticed something very interesting, that the company is growing very well in every category. We're growing in revenue, we're growing in numbers, we're growing in profits, we're growing in gross margins. So every indication shows that the company is way above the curve of growth, year-to-year growth. But we're still having the attrition problem. In fact, it's even getting worse. So that kind of triggered a way of thinking is like, let's try to make sense out of these data points because they don't match. If attrition is one of our biggest problems, how is it that we're over exceeding in our growth expectations? So we started analyzing the data from a different view. And we've noticed few things. One of which thing that we didn't really think about, like, okay, well, what is the average tenure of someone that joins Avenue Code? Go ahead.
18 months, I believe.
It is 18 months. So a year and a half, which is average tenure. And we used to think about that as being a bad data point, or a challenging data point, for the lack of any better terms. But then as we looked deeper into it, we realized benchmarking any technologists in our space, they usually join the company, they have the highest contribution upfront when they're so excited about their career and the new career, and there's a learning curve, and it's like a kid in the candy store for technologists, learn new technology, get new challenges, and they kind of ramp up in productivity very, very high, but they plateau somewhere around the 18 months timeline, which is an interesting period because first, it's not as short as people seem to believe. The lifespan of a technologist, as we already know, technologists move around a lot in their career. They have a very unique resumes that this is acceptable right now. And the reason being is not because it's not because they're shopping for better salary or they can't find their passion within one company. It's more like this is the time where they start getting bored of what they're doing. For them, technologists are always eager to learn new technology and get new challenges within technology. And so they join a company, and the exposure to new products and new technology stacks and new challenges, they like it, and they learn, they grow, they take on the challenges, but at one point they plateau, which happen to be within the 18-month cycle, where they've learned pretty much everything there is to learn, and now it's just a job. So it becomes kind of an insipid activity for them. Not to mention that any technologist, after a year and a half of learning the company's stack inside out, they draw a higher price too. So there is a trade in that as well, which is the return on investment for someone who's kind of maxed out and plateaued and reached a level of seniority that might be expensive, but also they're not really excited about it. So I think it's a good time for them to move on.
Great point that you noticed that it's not just they're plateauing and they're coming to their also the excitement level, right? But also their seniority level. And when we see the excitement, I always talked about Avenue Code's passion and culture, that it's all about excitement. People really want to be engaged in different projects. So when they just enter the cycle, they have the excitement, they have the energy, and our talent acquisition team captures that those who actually excited to learn new technologies, and they're coming at a different price point, right? So they're going through AC Academy, they're going through this cultural shift, they're becoming consultants, and then this is what happens. And I think also with what we didn't talk, Zeo, about is when they plateau, they have a choice, right? They have a choice to exit, or they have a choice to become leads or managers within Avenue Code or architects. But some people don't. Some engineers, they just want to have their hands-on experience in some products or other things. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a career path in Avenue Code. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying I'm generalizing the average. We've had people that have been with us for as long as the company existed. And we'll have tenure that north of 10 years. But I am talking about if you aggregate data and you kind of objectively try to analyze it, we realize that if the average is a year and a half, why is that? Mm-hmm. So try to understand why. And then why is it, how do you see it that it's not a challenging short tenure to begin with? Because it doesn't reconcile with your growth. And this is kind of when you start peeling the onions and finding a layer of positivity within that data point. So that's one thing that we found. The other thing is we realized that our cadets who come to Avenue Code and work for whatever the tenure might be and leave the company, the reason they're leaving the company really because working for Avenue Code for a couple of years, you're exposed to some of the most innovative technology implementations in the world. And as a result, your value in the open market of technology becomes much higher. So you're leaving Avenue Code because you've learned from Avenue Code. And that gives few other attributes to the action, one of which is you're leaving to work with another technology company. The more Avenue Coders are penetrating the technology ecosystem, the more technology companies knows about the company and the quality of our talent. That's number one. And that goes in two ways. It draws more cadets to Avenue Code, more newcomers that, I've worked with Avenue Code graduates, and I think that they have some of the best talents. I want to join this company. So that increases our ability to do our talent acquisition. The second thing is the technology consumers around our ecosystem, by having Avenue Coders working for them and knowing the quality of their own full-time employees who are ex-Avenue Coders, they're basically eager to find out more if the company can help them expand. Not even mentioning that some of the Avenue Code graduates becomes our clients. So all in all, I think it's a machine of growth. I can give it an example with the cells in your body. They have to die in order to rejuvenate, and I think that this is really what's happening with attrition rates, and this is how it ties to some of the
growth.
I call the hockey stick growth. It's really tied into the higher the attrition rates that there are, which is a very interesting view. So we don't see it as a challenge anymore. We actually see it as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, and if I can translate it for what you're saying is that we are providing our own marketing in a way through our quality of talent that actually growing becoming leads and directors and managers who really want to utilize our system because they know that this cycle and the way we focus on quality, and they actually lived throughout the experience, and they became a new entity for us to enter a new client. Also, same thing that we transpire new talent to come through this beautiful circle of Avenue Code Life. AC academies, how we penetrate really the talent and give them opportunity to be consultative, become consultants, work with US companies, and exit out when they feel like there's time to go and time to grow somewhere else. So this is what I'm hearing. Like it actually the way you enter gives it's a network of conversations we're creating. They go through our cycle, they exit, and they also create this network of conversations from both ends, and we keep growing. So our Avenue Code network itself keep growing, but we also giving ourselves more opportunities for entry points.
Absolutely. Just to give add a couple data points to this. We're about closing to 1,000 people right now as the recording of this podcast. And we probably graduated somewhere near 20,000 through our existence. And I have to say that we have 20,000 marketing points penetrating through the technology space. And that is, I'm not going to plug in other companies' names, but some of the most recognized professional services company in the world, they work with that. Like I've worked with someone at X company that I know how good they are because they had the name of one of the big five on their resume. And I think there is such a tremendous value because that's the only way you can know the quality of Avenue Code. If you like, we can tell you in marketing and presentations until Kingdom comes how good we are. But when they work with someone that actually worked for Avenue Code and they see their quality, there is no better testament. And I think the value of putting someone out there in the ether to advocate for your brand because they have you on their resume is tremendous. And I think it's overlooked by everyone that is really see attrition as a challenge. I actually see it as a marketing machine.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think you also had a phrase for it, right? What was the phrase that you used for attrition leads to perfection or something in that?
Attrition, your way to perfection. Or, oh, no, here it is. Attrition, your way forward. That's right.
That's beautiful. I actually, because I represent sales at Avenue Code, I feel like we need to do another data point and see what percentage of our clients actually came from referral-based Avenue Code ecosystem. And I think the percentage will be very high. I know from my perspective, when I entered Zeo, I saw that our relationship with people were through network conversations, and it was very different from other people's sales machines and how they proceed to the market. So we would love to maybe do analysis to see what is the percentage of our new clients. There are entry points through Avenue Coders. So let's check that data.
Well, I can tell you already that the amount of time I get approached by an ex-Avenue Coder who's been solicited reference for Avenue Code, either via LinkedIn, because you know that they work there within their network, is incredibly high. So I know that it's working firsthand. I also know because the higher attrition rate, the fastest we're growing, the faster we're growing. And I think it is really was an eye opener when you just start making that connection rather than always be fighting it. So, so it was completely enlightenment for us to find that out.
That's true. Well, thank you so much. I know we are at our time point. This was great. Attrition yourself, guys, because this is the way you can build a big company and network without having a big marketing spend. Thank you, Zeo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
See you in the next episode of the Avenue Code Spotlight Series podcast. Be sure to check out the interviews from the same series on our blog at avenuecode.com. See you next time, and thank you.